Pieces to Piece, a veterans writing project, is the culmination of many projects and many ideas that have joined in my life. This transformative process is what has been pulled together in our project, pieces, cutting up the pieces of a garment to piece. So this particular project has been exciting for me because we have worked with a wide variety of veterans, both from Vietnam through the Desert Storm, through the Iraq conflict, young and old, male and female, and invited them to come together, rag pulp a garment, make the paper, make the journal, and then write with Professor Amy Smith, who is a novelist and an English professor at the University of Pacific. This is our project.
We began with the writing group. The preliminary meeting was in July of 2019, and I came in feeling like I was prepared. I knew it was going to be a unique experience. I felt like I had some preparation. And so I thought about the ways that I can't run a group like this the same way I would a traditional creative writing class. But I did not think about it hard enough. And in the very first meeting, it was interesting because I definitely recognized that you can't just say to people, okay, start writing about the worst things that have happened to you. And I tried to kind of ease into it with a writing exercise, and some of the men picked up their pens and were okay. And one of them just kind of looked at me and he put his pen down. And when he did that, the other men looked at him and they all put their pens down. And so there was this moment of clear solidarity among them that if he wasn't comfortable doing it, they weren't going to either. And so we talked about that later, and it was a good sort of eye-opener that I need to be mindful of the fact that this isn't asking somebody to write a short story. This is asking somebody to put down on paper things that have haunted some of them for 50 plus years. So it's a powerful thing.
The idea that the veterans would come to me with a military garment was so ingrained in my head that when the first veteran came to the University of Pacific to do the rag pulping, he brought a brown towel, and I had to ask, okay, what's up with the towel? I was really kind of conditioned to think of a shirt or camouflage pants or something. So we get this brown towel. But it turns out that brown towel he carried over his shoulder to cushion his shoulder from his ammunition belt during Vietnam. That kind of threw me into a whole different mindset about what it was that veterans would bring to this project.
Numbers. It seemed like the guys didn't care about the dead, but they did. There just wasn't enough time to give the bodies the respect that they deserved. There wasn't even time to put the dead into a body bag. Every second counts in battle. I learned real fast how quickly you have to get your shit together in order to stay alive, like it or not. If you're lucky, you might get a second chance to live another day. I found out later that you have to do what you have to do, and that's the way it was. Even if you didn't like it, you do what you have to do to stay alive out here. That's how my first day went out in the field, in country, with a company, first of the Wolfhounds, and that day began in mid-afternoon. I didn't know back then that May of 1968 was the beginning of the Mini Tet Offensive. I wound up in 5 more mini offenses that year, full NVA and Viet Cong battalion offenses.
One that really was a little bit more challenging to process was a young man, the same age as my children, who are young men in their 30s. He brought in a Ralph Lauren robe, a flannel bathrobe. So I was getting pretty used to going, okay, what's the deal with this story? It turns out that this young man experienced so many calls during the night to suit up and go out that the idea of putting on body armor over going out with his weapon, coming back, trying to get some sleep, suiting up, putting on the body armor, taking his weapon, going out. After he'd done that 2, 3, 4 times a night, he just put on his bathrobe and took his weapon and went out.
Okay. Hello, my name is Ben Smalley, and I am a veteran of the U.S. Navy from 2007 to 2012 with 2 tours to Afghanistan under my belt. Currently, I am a student at University of the Pacific. I have recently graduated with my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I got involved in the Veterans Writing Workshop through school through Dr. Amy Smith. One of the most haunting memories I have of Afghanistan was the sheer magnitude of people being shipped home to their families in caskets. I worked next door to the dust-off and base hospital, where wounded would come in on helicopters. Regularly, we would see their caskets lined up for fallen comrade ceremonies the next day. And I have no idea how many caskets went by in my time there. I do know that what I saw within the fraction of time I spent in country, those caskets were a small fraction of the total devastation of just one war. These were good people with their whole lives ahead of them. There are no earthly words to express the profound sadness I felt at the sight of broken sons and daughters being shipped home in boxes, except to say that I watered the dirt in Afghanistan with many of my tears for those.
Comes in with a cook's apron and a cook's hat, whites, and it turns out that he was a cook aboard a minesweeper in the Mekong River Delta area in Vietnam. And so that rag pulping process still reflects his military experience.
In truth, I never would have considered writing about my time on USS Jennings County, a ship we call JC, if it were not for Paula Sheil. She established Pieces to Peace. When I began, I imagined a few dozen pages of random, oddball recollection, a gathering of dusty memories cobbled together, perhaps even a batch of short stories from 50 years ago, just enough to record the essence of my year in Vietnam. The actual writing of my memories came painstakingly slow at first. I didn't have a plan. I just started jotting down thoughts. A half century is a long time. People forget things. Our minds aren't as sharp as they once were. But then help arrived. Professor Amy Smith from UOP, a gifted author who teaches creative writing, provided expert assistance and, most importantly, sensitive encouragement. My disjointed ramblings soon became a proper story, a story that captured much of my experiences from September of 1969 to September of 1970. I'm so grateful for her kindness and expert assistance. For my entire 20-year career, beginning in 1961, including the year I traveled the rivers and hugged the coast of Vietnam, I cooked, baked, and managed galleys. Quite simply, my job was to feed the crew 3 times a day, every day. And tragically, on occasion, I was required to hold the remains of fallen heroes in my freezer for further transport home to a grieving family. It's been 50 years since I was in Vietnam. I recalled events and emotions I had locked away for a half century. After so many years, it was remarkable to be sharing my feelings openly, freely, without judgment, with men that I trusted and respected. Having Amy at our gatherings to urge us forward, to offer encouragement, and provide guidance for our writing efforts enriched the entire experience. I am grateful for this experience.